Hello and welcome back to Shakesyear. We are working on Richard III, and today we get to hear from King Richard himself in what the folio calls Act 5, Scene 2, what other versions call Act 5, Scene 3, because passage of time, all that sort of thing. And where we are on the brink of war, is what's going on in the play at the moment. Remember, a lot of King Richard's former allies, at least the ones that didn't get killed, have defected and fled, and they joined Richmond. Richmond would be next in line for the throne if the Lancasters were in power right now, but they're not. It's the Yorks that are, and that's why Richard is on the throne, or at least part of the reason why Richard is on the throne, that kind of thing. And in this particular scene, we have the two camps set up, and we've been bouncing back and forth between the two camps, checking out what's going on. And, Richard threatens Stanley again because he's holding Stanley's son hostage if Stanley doesn't bring back an army to him. But Stanley actually wants to support Richmond's side, so he went over to Richmond and he was like, "You're going to wake up first thing in the morning and go attack. I'll tell him to not expect you until a little bit later. Maybe you can get a jump on things, surprise him, you'll be successful," that kind of thing. "I got to go because if I don't show up with an army, he's going to kill my son." King Richard fell asleep in his tent. Richmond says a prayer asking for help in the war tomorrow, and then he goes to sleep. And then we had the parade of ghosts, where everybody that Richard killed, their ghosts come back and they visit Richard first and they say, "You were awful and I hope that you lose tomorrow and die a miserable bloody death." And then they go over to Richmond and they're like, "Hey, we're cheering for you, yay, do really good tomorrow." And it ended with Buckingham coming and saying to Richard, this was yesterday's monologue, saying, "I was the first one to support you and I was the last one that you killed, and that really sucked, so I hope you die. And Richmond, I was coming to be on your side, but I couldn't quite make it, so I hope you do well tomorrow." Anyway, but this parade of ghosts cursing Richard scares him, and he wakes up with a start and says, "Give me another horse, bind up my wounds. Have mercy, Jesu. Soft. I did but dream. O coward conscience, how dost thou afflict me? The lights burn blue. It is not dead midnight. Cold, fearful drops stand on my trembling flesh. What? Do I fear myself? There's none else by. Richard loves Richard. That is, I am I. Is there a murderer here? No. Yes, I am. Then fly. What, from myself? Great reason. Why? Lest I revenge. What, myself upon myself? Alack, I love myself. Wherefore? For any good that I myself have done unto myself. Oh no. Alas, I rather hate myself, for hateful deeds committed by myself. I am a villain, yet I lie, I am not. Fool, of thyself speak well. Fool, do not flatter. My conscience hath 1,000 several tongues, and every tongue brings in a several tale, and every tale condemns me for a villain. Perjury in the highest degree. Murder, stern murder in the direst degree. All several sins, all used in each degree, throng to the bar, crying all, "Guilty, guilty!" I shall despair. There is no creature loves me. And if I die, no soul shall pity me. Nay, wherefore should they, since that I myself find in myself no pity to myself? Methought the souls of all that I had murdered came to my tent, and every one did threat tomorrow's vengeance on the head of Richard. So he's shaken, is what he's saying. He's shaken by this parade of ghosts. And I mean, wouldn't you be? He starts out, he wakes up and he's startled and he's like, "Why am I afraid? There's nobody else around." And then he goes through the whole thing of, am I afraid of myself? Why would I be afraid of myself? Am I a murderer? Well, actually, yeah, I'm a murderer, so maybe I should run away. But how do I run away from myself? And why would I run away from myself? Because I'm afraid that I'm going to seek revenge on myself? Like, that's ridiculous. I love me. No, I don't. I hate me because I'm terrible. I'm a villain, but I'm not a villain. I'm living my own story and I'm living my truth. And he's stuck between these two sides of his conscience because these ghosts really had him rattled, pointing out all of his sins and all the terrible things that he did and all the people that he killed. But he also can't do that to himself, you know, and he gets stuck, and he starts to become really afraid, because everything that's going on says, yes, he really did do these things that he thought were the right things at the time for him to get the things that he wanted. He is king now, but maybe the things weren't taken as good things by all of these other people, and so he's now very afraid, and he's afraid that he has no friends, and he's afraid that if he dies, nobody's gonna mourn him or feel bad for him or any of that sort of thing. He's shaken by this whole experience, and Ratcliffe comes in. He's like, "Whoa, who's there?" And Ratcliffe was like, "It's just me. Like, people are starting to wake up and put on their armor, so maybe you should come out and do that." And he's like, "Do you think that people are actually going to fight for me on my side?" And Ratcliffe was like, "Yeah, absolutely, of course they will." And Richard's like, I'm not sure. I had a really bad dream, but let's go and try to do this. So Richard and his camp leave, but we still need to check in with Richmond and his camp now that it's morning, and we get to hear Richmond's rousing speech to his army as tomorrow's monologue. So I will see you then for that. Mwah.